I ask Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala to make this easy for me and for you, and I ask Allah to bless this session of ours. Ameen. Now we're going to continue in this Qatrun Nada. It's very sweet, mashallah. I've grown a new appreciation for this book, subhanallah wa bihamdihi. So the author says, may Allah have mercy upon him, Asl, original text. Wal amthilat al khamsah, and the five models, models, the five models, I'd say the five examples. وهي تفعلان وتفعلون بالياء والتاء فيهما وتفعلين. Those five are تفعلان and تفعلون, that's two, with a ya or a ta in either of them. So what's here is with a ta, تفعلان, تفعلون. So you could add here, could be with a ya, يفعلان and يفعلون. That's four then. So the meaning is that you could say تفعلان or يفعلان or تفعلون or يفعلون. So that's four. And تفعلين and تفعلين. So we're going to see what these mean, insha'Allah ta'ala. فَتُرْفَعُ بِثُبُوتِ النُّونِ. They are put into a state of rafa' by confirming or by the confirmation of the noon. The noon we're going to talk about, insha'Allah. وَتُجْزَمُ وَتُنْصَبُ بِحَذْفِهَا. And they will be put into the state of jazm and the state of nasb by its omission, by the omission of said noon. So now we're finally going to talk a little bit about jazm. We haven't talked about jazm because jazm, as you know well now, insha'Allah ta'ala, is only for verbs. And we haven't been really talking about verbs. Now we're talking about verbs. naHw, for example, فَإِن لَمْ تَفْعَلُوا وَلَن تَفْعَلُوا. Here's lem. Lem is the jazm. It's what's putting the following verb into the state of jazm. فَإِن لَمْ تَفْعَلُوا. So there's no noon here. Originally you'd say تَفْعَلُونَ with a noon. تَفْعَلُونَ. But lam came in front of this verb and made us omit that noon that would be there. So, فَإِن لَمْ تَفْعَلُوا, if you didn't do it, وَلَن تَفْعَلُوا, and len, that's a nasib, that's going to put the verb, the following verb, into the state of nasab. And so we're also going to omit the noon. وَلَن تَفْعَلُوا وَإِن كُنتُمْ فِي رَيْبٍ مِّمَّا نَزَّلْنَا عَلَى عَبْدِنَا فَأْتُوا بِسُورَةٍ مِّن مِّثْلِهِ. The ayah means, if you pagans are in doubt about what we have revealed to our slave, Muhammad, then produce a surah of its caliber. Produce a surah, produce a chapter, a revealed chapter, produce a surah like what Muhammad brings. Produce something of its caliber. Then the ayah says after that, فَإِن لَمْ تَفْعَلُوا, and if you don't do that, وَلَن تَفْعَلُوا, and you won't do it, you'll never be able to. فَاتَّقُوا النَّارَ الَّتِي وَقُودُهَا النَّاسُ وَالْحِجَارَةُ. Then Beware of hell, that hell whose fuel is people and stones. That's a challenge in the Quran for the people to bring something like the Quran. That's a miracle in the Quran, that no one would ever be able to bring something like the Quran. That's a challenge to all of humanity, not just to the Arabs. But the Arabs can't do it, so nobody else can do it, though. If the Arabs can't do it, no one else can do it. It's a challenge to all the humans. So, the author says, Ash-Sharh, the explanation. Al-Babu Sadisu mimma kharaja anil asl. The sixth portal, yani the sixth case that departs the origin. What's the origin? So, easy question here. You're all going to answer me when we say the origin. So, what's the origin for Rafa? What's the origin as a sign of Rafa? That should be now second nature for you at this point. What's the origin, the original sign of Rafa'? Dhamma. What's the original sign of Nasb? Fatha. What's the original sign of Jar? Kasra. And original sign of Jazm? The absence of those, which is what? What do you call the absence of those? 5. No. Sukoon, correct, sukoon. Sukoon is the absence of a fatha, kasra, or dhamma. So the original sign of jazm is sukoon. Okay, so these verbs we're talking about now, they don't have any of those original signs. The sign of rafa' is a noon instead of a dhamma. The sign of nasb is the omission of that noon instead of a fatha. And the sign of jazm is the omission of a noon instead of a sukoon. And so this is the sixth case that departs original i'rab signs. What is this? Al-amthilatul khamsah. The five models. You might know them as al-af'alul khamsah, the 5 verbs. That's probably more famous name. Just like when we talked about jam'ul mu'annathi salim, sound feminine plural. Sound feminine plural has a better name, although that's the most famous name. Ma jumi'a bi alifin wa ta'in mazidatayn. What was pluralized by an additional alif and ta. Also, there's a group of verbs in Arabic called, famously, al-af'alul khamsa, the 5 verbs. But a better name for them is what our author named them, may Allah have mercy upon him, al-amthilatul khamsa instead of al-af'alul khamsa, the 5 models. That's because we're really talking about patterns. We're not talking about any verb in particular. So since we're talking about some patterns, basically means we're talking about some molds or some models that verbs can take. So we're going to call them the 5 models. وهي كل فعل مضارع اتصلت به ألف الاثنين نحو يقومان للغائبين وتقومان للحاضرين. So what is it? How do you define that? They are any mudari' verb. Any mudari' verb. You know what mudari' means? Mudari' verb. Fi'l mudari' that's present/future tense. Present/future tense. So, how do we define these 5 models? They are any mudari' verbs that have connected to them, suffixed to their backs, to their ends. Aliful ithnain, the alif of duality. The alif of duality. The alif that refers to two. naHw, such as yaquman lil ghaibain. Like this word, yaquman, here's the alif. This alif here is a pronoun. We say اتصلت به ألف الاثنين, the alif of duality. We're talking about a pronoun here. naHw yaquman, like yaquman, this alif is a pronoun that refers to two. Lil ghaibain, that's for two who are absent from the discussion. They're not part of the discussion. So you have three cases. Either the speaker, well, he's part of the discussion because he's talking, and the addressee is part of the discussion because he's being addressed, he's being spoken to. And then you have al-ghaib, the absent one, the one who's absent from the discussion. He's not part of the conversation. So when you say yaquman, this alif here is for duality, and it refers to two who are being spoken about, two who are not part of the conversation. They're absent from the conversation. How do we know that's for people who are not part of the conversation? Because of the ya here. You need to review your lessons on fi'l mudari'. So you know this ya is going to be a sign. It's not a pronoun, it's a sign. It's alama. It's going to be a sign for being absent from the conversation. So that ya is a sign for being absent from the conversation. Okay. Then we have what else? We have here qaf, waw, mim. Those are your root letters. They have the meaning of standing. Al-qiyam, qama yaqumu, qiyaman, standing. So those are your root letters that tell us the essential meaning of the verb here. And then you have the alif, that's your pronoun. So that's the subject of the sentence. This whole word here is a sentence. I hope you realized that. That's an entire sentence there. And then you have what? This noon. What's the noon? That noon is the sign of rafa instead of a dhamma. So yaqumani lil ghaibain, for two who are not part of the conversation. Wa taqumani, similar. So here again, same alif. That's your pronoun referring to two. And also this ta, that's your sign. It's not a pronoun, it's a sign. That's a sign that your pronoun refers to. The two that the pronoun refers to are part of the conversation. Taqumani, you two stand. You two are standing. And we still have our same root letters here. Qaf, waw, mim. That gives us the meaning of standing. So the ta is giving us the meaning of address. Someone's being spoken to. Qaf, waw, mim, that's what's giving us our meaning of standing. That's our essential verb there. Then the alif is the pronoun referring to the two being addressed. And then we have after that our noon, which is the sign of rafa. So there, that's 2 out of 5 models. You can, where we have here qaf, waw, mim, we can take those 3 out and we can put other verbs there. We can put other letters there. We can keep here. We can keep that first ya there. We can keep this first ya here. We can keep this noon here. We can keep this alif here. And then we can put other letters in that purple box there. That's why these are models. Better to call them the 5 models than to call them the 5 verbs, because it's not for any 5 verbs in particular. So that's 2 out of 5. نحو يقومان للغائبين وتقومان للحاضرين. So you can say yakumani for 2 who are absent from the address, from the conversation. So it means those 2 stand. Those who you're talking about them. Those 2 stand. Those 2 are standing. You're talking about them, not to them. And taquman lil hadirain for 2 who are present. And what's meant here by present is being addressed in particular. Because the speaker is present too. Because he's the one talking, so he should be present. So we're talking about 2 who are being addressed in particular. Lil hadirain. But hadir means present. So the meaning is, you 2 are standing. Takumani. That's a complete sentence. He says, oh, wow, al-jamri, or fi'l al-amthilatul khamsa refers to a fi'l mudari', any fi'l mudari' that has suffixed to its end the wow of plurality, wow al-jama'. And that's masculine, by the way. What's the pronoun for, okay, khalas, let's stay focused here. That's masculine, wow al-jama', the wow of plurality, naHw, such as yakumuna lil-ghaibin. You, or they, yakumun. Yakumuna lil-ghaibin. They are standing. So that means 3 or more. Masculine. It's possible that yakumun includes women, but there has to be at least 1 male here to validate that wow. So there's at least 3, and 1 of them's a male, at least, for this wow to be valid here. Yakumun, they are standing, lil ghaibin, for those who are not part of the conversation. Wa taqumuna lil hadirin, and taqumun, you, plural, 3 or more, at least 1 male. You are standing, lil hadirin, for those who are present, meaning for those who are part of the conversation being addressed, that is. Oh, ya ul mukhataba, or, so that's 4 so far. Yakumani, takumani, yakumuna, takumuna. And the 5th one, takumin. أو ياء المخاطبة نحو تقومين. So al-mukhataba, the ya of the addressed female. The ya for the addressed female, single. That's singular. Taqumin. So what's going on here? Taqumin. This ta indicates khitab, being addressed, being spoken to. Just like when you say taquman, you two are standing with the ta. You're addressing. Taqumuna, you all are standing with the ta, addressing. Also, taqumin, anti, you female are standing. Then therefore, this ya here, that's your pronoun. This noon here, that's your sign of rafa'. And these letters here, qaf, waw, mim, you already know, that's your verb. So this ya here, that's a pronoun. It means anti, you, single female, one singular female. So any questions so far? Can we call amthila siyagh? Well, they are siyagh, but I don't know if you would call them that without a context, like without something that shows that's what you mean. I don't remember ever seeing a siyagh al-khamsa, for example, the 5 forms or something like that, a siyagh al-khamsa. But had I seen within the conversation, within the discussion about al-amthilatul khamsa, that a scholar used the word siyagh forms, then it would be clear. Ibn Hisham goes on to say, وَحُكْمُ هَذِهِ الْأَمْثِلَةِ الْخَمْسَةِ أَنَّهَا. So the judgment of these 5 models is that they are تُرْفَعُ بِثُبُوتِ النُّونِ. Their state of rafa is by affixing the noon, affirming the noon. As I think is clear for you now, you know what rafa means. So when I say state of rafa, that should be clear for you. Niyabatan an dhamma, instead of a dhamma, like we already said. وتجزم وتنصب بحذفها. And this type of verb, its state of jazm and its state of nasub is by omitting that said noon. Niyabatan an sukuni wal fatha, instead of the sukun and instead of the fatha. Are you all following along with your own copies, inshallah? That's a great thing if you have your own copies. And also writing the definitions of words as you come across new words. Yes, indeed, inshallah, he should be doing that. So you can teach it also to somebody. Ameen wa iyyakum. Okay, taqul, you say, antum taqumun, you, antum, you, that's masculine though, and plural. Antum, that's masculine and plural. I won't break this pronoun down for you now. I won't break it apart for you and explain everything in the pronoun. I'll save that for the chapter on pronouns, inshallah ta'ala. So for now, all we're going to say is that's masculine plural. And when we say plural, it means at least 3 because Arabic has dual. Antum taqumun, you, 3 or more, are standing. Antum taqumun. But be mindful here, this word taqumun, as I already said to you, it's a sentence all by itself. Yani, I called it a word. I'm pronouncing it like it's one word. Taqumun, that's a complete sentence all by itself. So it doesn't need the word entum in front of it to be a complete sentence. Putting the word entum there and then saying taqumun afterwards, there's emphasis now. Now the sentence became more emphatic. If we remove the word entum, it's still a complete sentence by itself. So antum taqumun, you are standing. And since there's a noon here, then we know this is in a state of rafa'. Walam taqumu, and you won't stand. Lam taqumu, You won't, you will not stand, because lam is for negating the past. Lam is for negating the past. You did not stand. You didn't stand. Lam takumu walan takumu. You will not stand, or you shall not stand, because lan with a noon is for omitting the future. So the way I remembered the difference between those two was that lam omits the past. It has a meme. And the word for past in Arabic is malbli, starts with a meme. So then I connected the meme to the meme, and then I remembered that lam negates the past, and lan is for the future then. The one with the noon is for the future, the one with the meme is for the past. Lam takumu, you didn't stand. Lan takumu, you shan't stand. Shall not. He says, رفعت الأول لخلوه رفعت الأول لخلوه من الناصب والجازم. The first one, أنتم تقومون, with this noon here, you gave it a noon and made it marfu' because the verb is devoid of anything that would make it otherwise. The verb is devoid of anything that would put it into a state of nasb or a state of jazm. So it's going to be by default in the state of rafa', this fi'l mudari'. So you're going to affix the noon. أنتم تقومون وجعلت علامة رفعه النون. And you made, or you put, the sign of its rafa' as a noon. Yani you put the noon as its sign of rafa'. Ja'ala means to make. And sometimes often you can translate it as put. وَجَزَمْتَ الثَّانِيَ بِلَمْ. And the second one, you put it into the state of jazm with the particle lam. The negating particle lam negates the past. وَنَصَبْتَ الثَّالِثَ بِلَنْ. And the third one, you put it into a state of nasb by the other negating particle len that negates the future. وَجَعَلْتَ عَلَامَةَ النَّصْبِ وَالْجَزْمِ حَذْفَ النُّونِ. And in both of those cases, you made the omission of the noon be, or you put as the sign, you put the omission of the noon, or you made the omission of the noon as the sign of nasb and jazm. قال الله تعالى, said Allah Ta'ala, فَإِن لَمْ تَفْعَلُوا وَلَن تَفْعَلُوا. So if you didn't do it, and you won't do it, yani, if you didn't produce a surah with the caliber of the Quran, of the same caliber of any surah, the smallest surah, shortest surah in the Quran, and you never will, فَاتَّقُوا النَّارِ, then be afraid of hell. الْأَوَّلُ جَازِمٌ وَمَجْزُومٌ وَالثَّانِي نَاصِبٌ وَمَنْصُوبٌ. So the first one here, لَمْ تَفْعَلُوا, he says it's a jazim, something that puts the verb into a state of jazm, the jazim, and the majzoom, the verb itself that got affected, and so it's majzoom. And the second one here is the nasib. That's what's going to put the verb into the state of nasb, the nasib, and the mansub, and the verb itself that got made into the state of nasb, or put into the state of nasb. وَعَلَامَةُ الْجَزْمِ وَالنَّصْبِ الْحَذْفِ. And the sign of nasb and jazm is the omission.